Hey everybody, Jason just went to fix his hair, but we're live because I clicked the button already, and sometimes that happens on live broadcasts. What do you want? You're here with Crypto Connoisseurs. I am Kevin Murcko, CEO over at Coinmetro, quaint little crypto exchange doing big things. Check us out if you want. That's at Coinmetro, by the way, on all social media channels. We're live, as I said, with Crypto Connoisseurs. It is a new show by Blockleaders, and Blockleaders is sponsoring the show. We're going to see how this works. It's a 30-minute live stream. We're going to talk about a few, I'd say, hot crypto topics. Jason just made it back, so I'll let Jason introduce himself, and we're going to dive right in.
Hi, folks. Happy to be here. I've been in crypto for a while. Love to, Kevin and I go back Blocks Live Television, so love to chat about crypto. Look forward to you guys joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. Crypto Connoisseur is a cool name. I wanted to have a bubble pipe for the show today. They don't sell bubble pipes anymore, but kids can buy vape pipes, which I guess is somehow better.
I guess you're not going to the right stores.
Yeah, right. I did bring my Crypto Connoisseurs ping pong paddle though, so I had to have a prop, so I brought that with me. Cool. So let's jump right in. Our first topic of the day, we're talking about Facebook and what seems to be their exit from crypto. So back on Block Live TV, Jason and I talked about 1,000 times about the Libra project, which is what it used to be called, which it now changed its name to, well, I guess it doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Diem since at some point in the last months or so. But so Libra was a stable coin, basically modeled after a central bank. And that caused a lot of stuff to happen. Basically, I think it was France, US, Germany, maybe, that initially came up their central banks and said, hey, this isn't going to work. You guys are going to get too much power. You have a community of, basically a country of 2 billion account holders, and you're going to, basically take power away from the central banks. And yeah, we discussed this a lot. So Jason, what are your first thoughts on this? Apparently they're selling it to Silvergate. If people don't know, that's one of the biggest banks in crypto in the US. So Silvergate is in California. It's a big bank. Well, big crypto bank.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, I expected this to happen at some point. I mean, when Facebook came out and said they were doing, a cryptocurrency, it seemed like they were going to get enormous pushback from regulators. It was clear, particularly the way they had constructed it. They constructed it, very similar to the way a bank would be. And they already have, as you pointed out, 2 billion users. So it's like the size of a large country. One of the largest. It's essentially, if they had a bank, they would immediately be basically controlling, vast amounts of funds moving back and forth. So I expected there to be some pushback. Surprised that it took so long. I would have assumed that before they changed the name to Diem, they would have determined one way or the other whether they were going to go through with it or what their commitment level was. So it's a bit of a letdown that they would just sell it and move on. But it's certainly expected. And as you pointed out, Silvergate does have the licenses necessary, that Facebook was probably lacking.
So I think I don't know if it's going to be their last crypto push. I mean, they still have, what they pay for WhatsApp, like 7 billion or something, and they still haven't monetized it. And this was going to be one way they could monetize it, by having people send money. I think they even had a test going on maybe in the Philippines, Malaysia, something like that, for about 6 months, where they were allowing kind of stable coin to be passed back and forth between WhatsApp accounts. So,
and by the way, I was just going to add, I mean, Facebook has had Facebook coin, a long time ago. They tried, I want to say, it would have been like 7-8 years ago, but they tried launching Facebook coin where people would give things to each other, using Facebook. And that was, abandoned.
Yeah, I think it can't be their last play. I think they probably gave up with this one. Well, I read that the guy that was heading up the whole project left. So obviously that was probably a blow. But it's, companies so big with such a big user base, obviously a big portion of the user base is in crypto. I mean, even if it's 5%, it's a massive amount of people, and I'm sure it's more than 5%, to be honest. I think if you have an active Facebook account and you are within a certain age range, you're probably put your toe into crypto at some point. You might not be a crypto trader, but you're probably into crypto and you probably at least understand it to a certain extent. I do think it's interesting that Silvergate bought it because, Silvergate obviously has not just stuck their toe into crypto, but their whole foot, ankle, leg, knee, and, up to the thigh. No, up to the neck at this point. I don't know.
Facebook is creating an NFT marketplace, though. I heard that was happening. So, it's surprising that they wouldn't have that they wouldn't be going. I mean, it seems like their crypto plans would likely be, all in sync, as opposed to like one part of it blowing up and then the other one is still going on,
Yeah. Maybe the organization is just too big, right? So it's too segmented. So I have to assume with that NFT marketplace, you're going to pay in crypto. I mean, who's going to buy an NFT with
Right.
dollars? All right. And even
Right.
if they don't have the licenses to run a stable coin, how would they have the license then to run like a money business, an MSB, to accept dollars? So they're going to accept crypto. So yeah, I think they're just shifting. I think it's kind of like a cloak and dagger kind of thing. They know they've had so much heat on the Libra project. Then Diem probably got stuck with whatever. Maybe it was just internal nonsense. Facebook's a big company. The guy leaves. They're like, okay, we're going to scrap it. The news is leaked, but at the same time, they're probably going to pop out next week with, the Facebook coin 2.0 or something and move on. I mean,
Next year.
They can take the hit. They're a huge company with lots of resources. It's not like getting those licenses wouldn't have been, a massive thing for them to do. So anyway, let's see. My prediction is they're going to come out with something else. I think yours is too. So let's see what happens over the coming week.
Sure.
So that NFTs, you mentioned NFTs. So next topic on the board, NFTs here to stay or not. So well, I'll let you start on that one. So NFTs, are they a thing, or they are just a fad?
No, I mean, I think it's really cool. I mean, initially it started off, there were a whole bunch of sales for these graphic NFTs, like where people were buying things just for collecting, and just to have, something pretty. And arguably that was not very sustainable at all. And I think that's been borne out by a lot of the way a lot of these NFT collections have gone. But the more successful ones are really working to build utility within their NFT, and making sure that owning that NFT has some reason and essentially something that you can do by virtue of owning that NFT, right? And those are the ones that tend to be successful. And we see also a lot of NFT companies that issue native tokens, and those are the ones that are also tend to be really successful, because they'll say things like you have to use a native token to purchase the NFT, and in addition to that, like you'd use a native token to enhance or upgrade the NFT in some way to give it some additional powers and things like that. And then you have this element of gamification. And really the thing that people are buying is not really the graphic art. They're buying the gamification. They're buying the game, and they're wanting to get involved and they want to play with it. And so those are the things that tend to, be successful. But we saw the NFT, like the market drop out of the NFT market, the money just drop out of the NFT market. And I think that was because too much was being relied on as just a collector's item, like, oh, we're making this thing and it's just only one of one, and therefore it's going to be collectible, and so buy it, and now I think like the market has matured quite a bit, and people are looking at what is the long-term value that owning this brings me, and is there some area of gamification, like you have two of these NFTs and you lock them up for a certain amount of time, like 9 months, and you pop out with another NFT, like they're these NFTs like that. So I like how it's evolving. I still think it has a ways to go, but the other thing is that there's a whole set of NFT use cases that don't involve anything visual whatsoever, like that literally involve like real estate NFTs and NFTs that just describe other things, or NFTs that can be fractionalized, and then basically sold on the open market. AdLunam is doing investor-based NFTs where each investor is represented by an NFT, and their record as an investor is stored on that dynamic NFT. And so there's a whole bunch of use cases that aren't that are increasingly more useful, I would say, than how it started. But what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I when NFTs kind of first kicked off, I mean, I had been talking about non-fungibles in a few different circles with a lot of things about finance, just about how you can. I mean, for those who don't know, so we'll clear this up since this is our first show. I don't know who's watching this, right? So most crypto tokens, in fact, well, if it isn't called an NFT, that would be all crypto tokens, I guess, and coins are fungible. And that just means you can't tell the difference between one and another. So if I gave you a Bitcoin and someone else gave you a Bitcoin, you tried to figure out you could figure out where they came from, but they're not discernible one to the other. One Bitcoin is the same as another Bitcoin, just like one US dollar is the same as one other US dollar, right? And so non-fungibles are discernible. So they can have different characteristics. They can be completely different. They can hold different values. Think of like an LLC, like a corporation. In an LLC, you don't actually own shares. You own a percentage of share capital. So my one share of an LLC might be worth 30% of the company. Jason's share might be worth 45%, but there's still one share, but they hold a completely different value. So that's a non-fungible in finance, for example. And that's one of the first things that kind of ran into my mind when I thought about non-fungibles years ago. Oh, I shouldn't say years, well, probably years now, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it was. And then NFTs blew up, and it was, apes and, I don't know, like scribbly lines for 35 million ETH or whatever. And I thought, yeah, this is going to blow up. I mean, obviously, I think anybody that looked at that said, yeah, this isn't going to last that long. Some of them, like you said, did get smart. So even the Bored Ape Yacht Club now uses their NFTs as a membership kind of token that allows you access to membership of only events. And so while that may not be all that unique, it's kind of like if you think about all the membership clubs in London, right, where you're old, fat, and white, and you pay like $50K a year, and you sit in a room, smoke cigars, and drink cognac with a bunch of old, fat, old white people, basically. This is kind of the new membership club. This could be the new membership club. So people buy into these things, and I guess the cool thing about that is they can buy in. If you buy it when it's launched, maybe it costs you, I don't know, 1 ETH, half an ETH, a tenth of an ETH, whatever it is. Eventually, that membership is worth millions. And that's kind of similar to yacht clubs, how yacht clubs used to work around the world, because when you first bought in, you bought a piece of nothing. It was relatively cheap. And 10 years later, it's 500K, $1 million just to gain access to this yacht club. So it's kind of like a new generation of clubs that is kind of goes along with the ideal, I think, of Gen Y, Gen Z, which is not really materialistic. Gen Y, Gen Z don't really want to buy houses. They don't really want to own things. They want to share stuff. They like the sharing economy. And so they don't want to be in a yacht club, but they'll be in a club because they own a crazy picture of an ape. So that's also pretty cool. But I agree with you. There's lots of people doing cool things. NFTs, I think, are not going anywhere. I think this idea of I'm going to spend $1 billion on a drawing is going to go away. That bubble has already partially burst and probably will continue to deflate. But those that are smart add utility, add kind of functionality, gamification, which is also cool. I talked to a company as well. You mentioned, was him AdLunam? I'm going to pronounce it wrong. AdLunam. Okay. AdLunam. Which I'm going to check out for sure. But I talked to, I think, Thanks Token. There's a Thanks Network. It's called Thanks Network, THX.network. And these guys are working on gamification with NFTs as well. And some pretty cool stuff, because obviously people, gamers, obviously, but even everybody gets emotional. When you're on a platform, you're doing something, you get a badge, you get whatever. But now that badge is actually it's an NFT. You can go and sell it on a marketplace. It has a value. It's not just about a cool little badge in your, on your desktop. You can it's actually worth something, which is also pretty cool and kind of one step forward in kind of the digitalization of everything, which I think is what crypto didn't start it, but definitely crypto pushed it forward.
It's almost like the 21st century equivalent of a New York City taxi cab medallion.
Yeah,
when it used to be where you could buy that like fairly cheaply and set up your own little cab company, and now it's like 500,000, 600,000. Although now Uber's come in, and
Uber. They didn't kill the business yet, because for somehow those yellow cabs, man, they still exist. People are still paying exorbitant amounts of money. I think it's over $1 million now. Like in certain, like if you're in Manhattan, wow. I think it's like $1 million plus to get a medallion, which is crazy. But somehow they still persist. So I don't know how, but I think it's
NFTs one day.
Yeah. They probably will do the same.
NFT. We're checking NFTs right now.
If they fractionalized an NFT yellow cabs in New York, I'm sure they do quite well. I mean, they're just symbolic. I think that's why they're still there, to be honest. People go to New York, they expect to see, some rude asshole in a yellow taxi. And if they don't see that, they don't feel like they're in New York. So that's it. They have to exist because of that. They should paint the Ubers yellow.
The brand.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's head on. Let's see, next topic. So we talked a bit about bubbles already, but in general, right? So obviously, if you have a crypto portfolio that's older than 10 days or maybe 15, it looked really nice about 15 days ago, 20 days ago, a month ago. It looks a little less nice now. So every time we see a dip in the market, whether that's 10%, 20%, 80%, 90%, 30%, whatever, people tend to all get really anxious and antsy and start talking about bubbles and stuff going to zero. So let's talk about bubbles. So crypto, were we in a bubble? Did it burst? Are we still in a bubble? Was it not even a bubble? What do you think, Jason?
So I mean, that's a great question. The thing is that we hear that literally. Do we not hear that every freaking year, twice a year? Like, oh my God, Bitcoin has dropped 30%. It's a complete disaster. Everybody's selling. Bitcoin's gonna be dead. Tomorrow's not gonna exist anymore, right? And then it just slowly starts picking back up, and then eventually we're back to like 50, 60, and it's like, oh my God, Bitcoin is it's hilarious because this happens like every time, and I think that it's offers a great opportunity to buy. Like the way I think of it is every time Bitcoin drops, I'm like, yay. Like I don't think about the money that I have that's gone down in value. I'm just like, oh, now's a good time to buy. And then when it goes up, I'm like, woo, it's up. That's the way I interpret it. Like happy both ways,
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean now I think it's gonna come back for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Bitcoin has been dead in the press. I think that there's a meme going around about, I think, New York Times or something. I think Bitcoin has died like 18 times or something, as according to the New York Times. And this, I guess, might be 19. I don't know. So I look at it kind of the same way. I think crypto people, because I talked to a lot of crypto people, talked to a lot of traditional folks from, whatever, traditional finance or just regular people that aren't crypto or finance people. And most people don't realize how the stock market works. I mean, the stock market is full of hodlers. The original hodlers are in equities. They're not in crypto. The only reason equities rise every year on average is because people don't sell them. That's it. If there was a bunch of retail people running around going, I'm going to day trade stocks, then the market would look a lot different. It would probably look not so dissimilar to crypto in many ways, in that it would be much more volatile. We'd have, you'd have crazy peaks, crazy troughs. And you don't, because it's mostly institutional money, and people, even people who don't know they own stocks because they have 401k, they have a retirement plan, they have whatever, own a bunch of stocks. They have, these big endowments own a bunch of stocks. Yale University, Harvard University, whatever. They all own stocks. They don't necessarily know what they own. Somebody's managing it, whatever. But they're all hodlers, right? So this mentality isn't new. The difference is that the mentality here is a lot more emotional. People get really emotional about crypto. And they like to buy the dip. And the other thing I think is weird, and I have this conversation a lot, especially I had this conversation with my father the other day, because my father's like, I don't know. I was going to buy some Bitcoin, or I was going to buy whatever, he tells me, right? Because now he's a crypto guy. So, so he's like, I was going to buy some Bitcoin, but the price fell and I don't know now. I'm like, why is that a mentality? Like if you went to buy a car, right? So Jason, you walk into the dealership, guy's like, this car, I've been wanting this car for 2 years. I finally saved up the money. It's $65,000. I'm going to buy it. And the guy, but I got to come back tomorrow because I, forgot my checkbook or forgot my debit card, whatever happened. The guy's like, all right, fine. You come back the next day and the guy's like, I got some terrible news, Jason. The $65,000 car you wanted yesterday is only worth $33,000 today. And what are you going to say? You know what? I'll come back when it's 65 again because why would I only spend 33? I feel like it's less of a car now. You might buy two of them. You might even buy three and give one away to your grandmother or whatever, But the mentality for investors, for some reason, especially in volatile markets, is price goes down. I'm going to wait to see what happens, and that's weird. And I think when you look at most value investors, your Warren Buffetts of the world, they have the different mentality. It's a sale, and it's a small thing, right? It's relatively a small kind of tweak you need to do to your mind or your brain, but it's a big one when it comes to success, because if you look at markets differently than you look at a sale at that automobile dealership, you're probably not going to do well in the long run, especially in crypto, to be honest, because it's the drop that makes the millionaire, not the rise, right?
Yeah, it's both actually. I mean, a lot of the money is made on when you buy it as opposed to when you sell it, right?
Yeah.
And also, if you look at some of these consumer popular stocks like Tesla, AMC, they're every bit as volatile as crypto. Like the retail driven stock is every bit as volatile as crypto. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, because of Reddit. I mean, Reddit basically made a crypto market in equities. And you can look, if you look at Tesla, that's a good one, because if you look at Tesla more than the other kind of crypto stocks, Tesla obviously is a real company. They do real things. They didn't really make any money until last year because of Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin on their balance sheet made them profitable more than anything else. But they they have a real company, they do real stuff, but they are still way overvalued. They're valued more than like every other automobile company in the world combined. And that makes no sense. And it's, because of Reddit, basically. And it's basically because of the retail push, because it's irrational. Retail is irrational, right? They do irrational things. They buy stuff for irrational reasons. They obviously bought Tesla for very irrational reasons. So it's kind of weird that Elon's always mentioned kind of being I don't know, he's either the greatest man in crypto or the most hated, depending on what he tweets,
Right.
Use that not to his advantage.
Where your wallet stands. Where your crypto wallet stands.
Yeah, exactly. And how much Shiba Inu you might have bought over the weekend when he talks about it or whatever. Or Dogecoin. Now Dogecoin, he talks about Dogecoin more than Shiba Inu, I guess. But yeah, anyway, it's amazing that it took that long for there to be those type of retail stocks. Not that they didn't exist, but penny stocks, when you could buy them as a retail individual, which now you can't in the US at least, used to have the same type of volatility. And that was definitely like, let's call them crypto stocks, just to give the comparison. But nowadays you can't even do that because penny stocks you have to be an accredited investor in the US to buy penny stocks, for your protection. Wow. For your protection. That's a good lead in, by the way, to our last topic. So we have about 9 minutes left, but this one I think will eat up through that time. So it's a big one. So I have a note on my desk here. All it says is U.S. reg stuff in general. There's a lot of stuff always going on in the U.S. We were talking right before the show, Jason, about a few of them. We can pick and choose which one we want to talk about. I think the first one maybe would be Biden says crypto is a national security issue. So we'll start there. What do you think?
Well, I mean, has it always been a national security issue? I mean, I don't know. I think this is one of those things where it's sort of a distraction. I mean, Biden's having a terrible time domestically. Like, it's people are calling him a damn squid. He's having a hard time getting his things out. So it might be one of those things to just get people riled up. But I think overall, I mean, no, I don't think it's nowhere near the point where it could be a national security threat. I mean, you look at all the multiple other assets that you can buy that are way, way, way riskier. And it's not even in the same league. It's just, so I think this is certainly overblown in terms of fears. I mean, we don't even have that many people using crypto enough for it to be a national security threat.
Yeah. I maybe he found out that, Russia was buying missiles with Bitcoin and figured, just chop this. They're going to shoot Bitcoin missiles at Ukraine or something. I don't know. Yeah, I think, the US dollar, if you want to talk about national security threats, is probably the biggest national security threat in finance because it's the most laundered currency and the most illegally used currency in the world. I mentioned this statistic once on Blockleaders as well back in the day, but it's something like 80-something% of US $100 bills have cocaine residue on them. 80% in circulation. So yeah, if you want to talk about national security threats in finance, well, get rid of the dollar. I mean, because that would probably get rid of a lot of crime, or at least proceeds of crime for sure. I don't know where they're going with that. I read a few things about it. It wasn't, obviously nobody defined what national security threat is supposed to mean. I imagine he's trying to run the narrative that has been a failed narrative now for 13 years, which is that Bitcoin is used. Well, maybe not 13 because there was Silk Road at one time, and it might have been, there was definitely some criminal stuff going on there. But for the last 10 years or so, the failed narrative has been that, Bitcoin, criminals use Bitcoin. And no, well, they do, dumb criminals do, but they get caught because there's this thing called the blockchain, So I think he's trying to push, again, you're probably right. Domestically, Biden is, kind of wrecked, man. Maybe he got wrecked on margin over the weekend or something and came out and said that it's a national security threat. I don't know. I definitely, if Biden tried to trade, he'd get wrecked. That's for sure. There's no way he's making money. He's going to get wrecked. So maybe he bought some Shiba Inu or something. But yeah, I think they're just going down that failed narrative about, criminality in crypto, and probably also on the long, really old narrative of we're going to protect the populace by not letting them make money. Or having the opportunity to make money, which is stupid in so many ways, because there's so many things you can do in every country, but so you can go to a casino, you can go to an Indian casino on a reservation and lose all your money. You can buy a bunch of lottery tickets and lose all your money. You can, go to the bingo parlor at your local church and get wrecked. There's so many things you can do that is bad for you financially. Go bet on horses, whatever. But, when it comes to foreign exchange or crypto, well, you got to be or penny stocks, you have to be accredited, because somehow having a bit of money makes you smarter.
So I read somewhere that like they did a thing about the dark web and the kind of currency that was mostly used, and it's like Monero. People saw it like because people got smart about how Bitcoin, this chain analysis. Really, if you're a criminal, like probably the worst thing to be doing is using Bitcoin. It's so easy to track on chain. Like all these transactions are on chain. So I don't know why. And there's chain analysis. There's companies whose entire job is to do this. There's Cybravo and all these other companies that literally all they do is track this information.
Yeah, exactly. Not only that, it's what they should be thinking about is, when it comes to like regulated exchanges and wallets, et cetera, if they make regulation that's not kind of heavy-handed and they bring in more companies into the US, they can create a nice little ring of regulated exchanges and apply some even light rules. One light rule could be, privacy coins require onboarding. That's it. Done.
Right.
Now you can still do private transactions, but when you onboard them to sell them, it's no longer private. And
which is basically why these fiat off ramps have so much regulation in the first place, because once you have to give out that information.
Yeah. Exactly. And to be honest, I like privacy with my financial transactions like anybody else. But you can make a lot of arguments for why, if I send, $100 to a friend or 100 euros or 100 pounds or whatever, why should the government know about that? If I go and buy, I think that argument is solid. I mean, they should, right? But when I go to cash out to my bank account the money, then one way, shape, or form, whether I think they should know or not, they're going to know. So when you go to fiat, no one's going to show up to your house with a briefcase of fiat, right? You're going to send it somewhere. So at some point in that chain, they're going to know already. So I think, anyway, I hope, my hope is that Biden, and the funny thing, we talked about this actually, the SEC, the CFTC, nobody, they're not in there. They're not in this committee that Biden put together. Like none of the regulators you would expect to be there, because they're probably the ones that will regulate the industry at a national level, at least. They're not there.
They're not in there.
Like, so that's really weird. Because that's kind of the scariest point for me, is that we would need, dudes like us, somebody from crypto at least knows what they're talking about, to be in there as well. Whether that's Coinbase, which, I'd rather not be Coinbase, but whether it's Coinbase, whether it's Gemini, whether it's, they need, on that committee, they need people to talk. You can't just have one side, because everybody that's on that committee right now is probably going to follow the narrative, the Biden narrative. And what are they going to accomplish with that? Not much. Well, nothing good. That's for sure.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
Then let's see. We have CBDCs. There was a report about looking at a potential CBDC for the U.S. Obviously, it got stuck and they're waiting on kind of additional information. Right. So I guess it's kind of like, it reminds me of Justin Sun's announcements of an announcement. The U.S. does that a lot. Like, it's a report that they're going to need to do another report. That's basically.
I mean, look at the Fed. Look at the whole rumor that came out that caused the whole crypto market to drop in the first place. That was another report of a report. Like, it's like buy the rumor, sell the fact, that you always talk about. Like, it's.
Maybe the U.S. has been buying Bitcoin for a long time, and they want to buy some more, and that's why they're coming out with all this nonsense, these nonsense headlines, right? They figure, if they're about to get wrecked in between the Russia-Ukraine scandal, right? Well, they're already getting wrecked, because energy prices around the world are skyrocketing because of that. So I mean, I live in Estonia, so it's cold, 11 and a half months out of the year. It's like 2 weeks of sunshine maybe. But the utility bills here were generally high anyway. My utility bills in the winter are like 700 euros a month, right? Which is insane. Wow. And the bill for December was 1,600. I wasn't even home. I was literally gone 3 weeks. The heat was off. There was no lights on, and the bill came in 1,600 euros. So thank you, Ukraine, Russia, and Biden, for that. Appreciate that. I hope that money goes, to buy Bitcoin or something. I don't know.
Deserving.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we're coming up on 30 minutes, so I think we had some pretty good timing here. So any final thoughts, Jason, you want to leave the crowd with before we part?
Oh well, I hope. Let's put it this way: if you're out there, you're holding a bunch of Bitcoin and you're feeling nervous, and this is your first I wouldn't even go so far as to call it a bear market. This is your first bear experience. You just saw a bear at the zoo, and you're scared. Just hold, and you'll be all right.
Yeah. Good. That's a good piece of advice. So yeah, if you've never invested in anything before and crypto is your first investment vehicle, yeah, get ready for some volatility. Sit on your hands. That's what I would tell you. Don't try to be a trader. Most investors historically, even in traditional markets that have done really well, aren't traders. They are hodlers. They hold. They buy something they believe in, they hold, and they dollar cost average their way into a larger portfolio over time. And dividend, like you have dividends in stocks. That's how Warren Buffett made his money off dividends, not about picking tops and bottoms. We have staking and bonding and all these different passive income opportunities in crypto. So if you're going to buy something and you're on the fence, obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum, all those things should be in a crypto portfolio. But when you're looking for altcoins or smaller, let's call them gems somewhere, try to find something that's going to give you some passive income. That way, when you do see these dips, you're still actually earning something in the background. So you can check out passive income, by the way, on Coinmetro. So I had to put at least one shout out in for Coinmetro. It's at Coinmetro. Check us out. But thank you for joining us on Crypto Connoisseurs. This is our first show. We're going to get a lot of graphics and stuff going on for the next one. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks again, everybody. We might even answer questions next time, but we ran out of time this time. So sorry about that.
Good idea.
We'll see you on the next show. Thanks, Jason.
All right, guys.